Hi, I'm Brian and welcome to this video, and today I want to discuss an album which I picked up only very recently and given a flogging over the past 3 or 4 days, and that album is Blue Sunshine by The Glove. And this album is a first pressing American release, so it was released a few years after it came out in Europe and the UK. And I want to start off by saying I've got a confession to make. I'm not a lifelong fan of The Cure or the Banshees. I'm sorry. I didn't rush off to buy The Cure's new album, and I don't know an enormous amount about either band. So what I want to talk about primarily is this album. I mean, when I was young, I had 17 Seconds and I had Standing on a Beach by The Cure. And now that I'm older, I think this is an absolute masterpiece. And I remember listening to this back in the, was it 89 when it came out? And it's an absolute masterpiece. And the only other Cure album I have is The Head on the Door, which likewise I think is an absolute classic album as well. And I remember seeing Head on the Door fairly cheap at my one of these record mega stores, and I thought, I'll buy anything by The Cure that's on the cheap. I think it cost $30 or $40. But that's the thing. I'm not a huge fan of either band. In terms of the Banshees, I've never owned a Banshees album. But hear me out. What I'd like to do is talk about Blue Sunshine, and then I really welcome you, after hearing what I've had to say about this album, to give me some recommendations as to what Cure and what Banshees I should listen to next. So be my saviors, not my critics. Anyway, this album, as I said, well, I didn't say, came out in 1983, and The Glove was the evil villain in Yellow Submarine, and Blue Sunshine was a particularly nasty strain of LSD that was in a 60s psychsploitation movie. And I think what happened was that you took the LSD and then 10 years later, you woke up and went on a killing rampage or something like that. Anyway, anyway, back cover, fantastic. Shall I take out the inner sleeve? I don't know why I'd bother, but I will. The inner sleeve, same sort of design, and then the lyrics on the back, fantastic. Although how you read those ones, I will never know. So it features a collaboration between Robert Smith from The Cure and Steven Severin from the Banshees. And this was right in the middle when the two bands were sort of working together, or Robert Smith was working with the Banshees. And Robert Smith had come off doing Pornography, and the next album would be The Top. But I remember buying, actually I bought Pornography at the time, but I just found it so bleak and difficult to get into. And that's probably when I stopped listening to The Cure at that point. And Steve Severin, bass player extraordinaire, was coming out of A Kiss in the Dream House by the Banshees. And what's really interesting about this, because it's sort of spoken of as a sort of Sgt. Pepper's or Beatlesque pastiche of psychedelic music, was that on this album, Robert Smith contractually was not supposed to sing. Now, he does sing on a couple of songs, but the vocals go to Jeanette Landray, who was a dancer in a troupe called Zoo, which used to dance on Top of the Pops. And I really like her voice in this, and I think it adds something to the music. And in fact, it's quite startling whenever Robert Smith comes in to sing his couple of songs. We've also got Andy Anderson, who would go on to join The Cure on drums. And so it's a pretty interesting mix of musics. And now I go further than that. I think after 4 or 5 listens that I'm saying this is a borderline masterpiece. But why is that so? And do you agree with me? Let's find out. Side 1 kicks off with Like an Animal. And my first impression of this song was that it was almost New Order-esque here, because it's a very, very prominent up-tempo bass line, which reminds me a lot of Peter Hook. All bass and synth in this song with a wildly exuberant vocal from Jeanette Landray. It's a cool, energetic opening, and it's a great first single. And I love the lines. First, I was a murderer. Then I was a saint. Now I live on stolen time, twist and run like paint. What a great line. Twist and run like paint, like an animal. Cool song. Moving on then to one of my very, very favorite songs on this album is Looking Glass Girl. And I love those swirling sounds. And again, it's a lot of bass and synth with a pulsing mechanical drum line. Great vocal again from Jeanette Landray. But it's the whooshing of those keyboards that really bring this song absolutely alive. And they've got very demented lyrics about the looking glass girl, the casino man, the umbrella man. Let's have a look. The umbrella man is shouting. We shake his paper hands. There's mirrors down beneath our feet. So let's skate down the street. What an image that is, of mirrors being beneath your feet. And so you're going to skate along them. It's kind of cool. And then all of a sudden, the guitars come in. And the next song really lifts for me, and that's Sex, Eye, Makeup. And I'm loving this song right from the start. It's a slow burner. It's brooding and heaving with edginess, but then comes Robert Smith with the guitars and these really demented, outrageous sort of Robert Frippery type guitars, Robert Fripp type style solos. It's an amazing vibe to this song, and it really has that Cure feel about it, especially with that long intro. You know, the idea that we'll have 1 or 2 minutes of intro before someone will start singing. The pot is on the stove and what is being cooked here is tasty. This is a classic. Some great lyrics too. One more cigarette and the car burns. Burning like the body waiting at home. Which body? What are we talking about here? One more boy full of writhing white mice. Full of writhing white mice. When you think about that, I know what I think it is. Rolls over again in a London disguise. I think that I'm jazzy like Christ. Wow. Next, and we've got the drums start up, and we've got the first hints. So we're in 1967 with Mr. Alphabet Says, and we've got the piano and the strings. And Robert Smith, this is his first vocal on the album, and for me it was a little bit strange. It seems a bit out of place, and the reason for that, I think, is because I sort of bought into the whole Jeanette Landray idea, and then to hear something, a voice which is so synonymous with a particular band, made me immediately think, ripped me away from the glove, and made me think about the Cure. But still, despite the obvious 60s complexity in the productions, they really appreciate the need for sparseness and the difference between light and shade. And so from the second time on, this song really just grew and grabbed me. And then I started to think, hey, Robert Smith is just another singer in the glove, and it worked. I love the understated bass line in this as well, and demented, twisted lyrics. Again, Mr. Alphabet Says, smile like a weasel as I cover you in treacle, weasel and treacle. And then the side of the music finishes with a blues in drag. And I'm not sure whether it's a blues, like the key of A, blues in drag, or it's a blues in drag. It's got a chilling jazzy vibe to it. Piano melody underscored by the double bass and overlaid with these icy strings, classic new wave sounds of the early 80s. This could be a jazz standard in many ways, I think. Perfect for a soundtrack for a moody winter's scene of love, loss, and regret. And one has the idea of the cliche of the single tear running down the cheek, except this time it's frozen. Now, that's a pretty damn fine side of music, and one that I was hoping for, but didn't expect I was going to be rewarded so significantly. Let's flip it over to side 2. The B-side opens with the second single, Punish Me With Kisses, which I love. What a great single. And I'm again getting that New Order feel. There's a beautiful showcase here between the muted bass and the jangly sound of the guitar. And it's all underpinned or overpinned or accentuated, shall we say, by dreamy, swirling keyboards. I love the instrumental breakdown in double time, or so it seems, in which the rhythm guitar comes in, and it's got that sort of Robert Smith's guitar playing here reminds me of the guitar he does in Primary, or maybe even A Forest. It's all about the power of obsession and yearning and hopelessness. Again, some wonderful lyrics. Your morning smile of torture holds me in its grip. You trace the taste of yesterday, the bruise upon my lip. You touch my eyes and hypnotize and slip inside my heart. I wait for this forever, but we always fall apart. And that then moves us on to This Green City, which is a song probably I neglected most on my first listening. I sort of skipped through this one and have come back to appreciate it because of these bubbling keyboards to open, and it's an almost joyful keyboard melody. It's a steamroller of a song which plays between, in the verses, sort of a major feel and then a minor feel in the chorus. Another wonderful vocal accompanied by great guitar solo, and the guitar solo sounds as brittle as the icy lyrics do. Stairs fall like jewels as we near the door. You fold through my neck and arms like crystal. Oh, how good's that? So black with charm and breath. We turn to face the dying sun. The green city rains down on me. Then, just in case we'd forgotten, this is supposed to be a homage to the 60s, a psychedelic album, a psychedelic classic. We get the song Orgy, because I'm not sure that I'm supposed to say that word on YouTube. Anyway, orgy's fun. Everybody loves an orgy. Anyway, here we come with the Persian Middle Eastern drone, and all the players' fingers weave quick minuets speaking secret alphabets. I can't think of a better way to sum it up than how it was summed up by a certain other guy. It's an exciting arrangement and such complexity in the production here. Great lyrics. A disease is under my fingernails. It stains me like a tattoo. A tongue explodes into mouth, a taste of coma and tears. Back on the rack, aching with time, your face is familiar from another crime, and we could swim, my little fishes. Takes us into a great song now, Perfect Murder, which has this beautiful floating sense of a vibraphone or xylophone or some calypso sort of percussion instrument, which really drive the opening. Robert's back now singing on vocals, but this time it's not out of place at all. And I wonder whether it is just because I got accustomed to the fact that he's in the band now, or because he's, like Jeanette, is a little bit back in the mix. But the music here is so The Glove, especially the arpeggiated keyboard sounds. It's a fantastic aching vocal as well. And the song that has a groove about it, which is sort of like new wave gloom funk. How does that sound? New wave gloom funk. It's maybe not meant to make you dance, hence the gloomy aspect to it, but it's definitely meant to make you sway from side to side, I think. Awesome psyche vocal sounds take out the song at the end. Absolutely brilliant. It's very, very psychedelic. Great lyrics again. The meeker, sleeker girls, circle girls. Let me start again. The meeker, sleeker circle girls dressed in docile white. Spinning on a heel, they follow the Dracula kite. The first idea flew thin and uninvited from the sky. I reached out my hands and held the knife of ice. Wow. To finish, we have an instrumental called Relax. And you'd think that would be a perfect sort of chill way to finish the album. But this song is the antithesis of the ability to relax, because it's always building and increasing tension. And just when you think the song is about to fade out, it comes back again with a new sense of intensity. We've got the rhythm guitar, and we've got the trumpet, we've got the bizarre vocal sounds to the Eastern vibe of the synths. It's very unsettling, but it's also way cool. And just when and the ability to relax, no, it's the absolute antithesis, as I just said. I mean, this is insanity, and in a very, very delightful way. This song might just be the definition of blue sunshine. It's certainly a perfect soundtrack, one would think, to that psych exploitation movie in the 60s. And it's a fitting and sensational way to end an astonishing album. And I shouldn't also neglect to mention that between every song, you have these musical interludes from the man from nowhere. And what they do is they add a cohesiveness and a unity and a real psych quotient that just add so much. So, two sides of great music. Are you with me? Is it a psychedelic classic? Is it a masterpiece? That's the way I'm starting to lean. It's a brilliant, beautiful, astonishing album. I haven't done my top 10 list of purchases for 2024 yet, or a video, which I'm intending to do, but I have no doubt that Blue Sunshine by The Glove would make that top 10 list, probably top 5, maybe even higher. It's that good and it resonates with me on that level. And I was doing some reading on the band in the new Trouser Press record guide, which I consider to be the Bible of new wave and post-punk reviews. And this is what they had to say in part. Sounds much like their own band, so Robert with the Cure and Steven with the Banshees, crossed with the Beatles circa 1967. Now, I'm not really getting an enormous Beatles vibe out of that, but I'll acknowledge that the interludes between the songs from The Man from Nowhere certainly give that sort of vibe in a sense. But they go on to say and finish, not a band to make a career of, but good, harmless fun, which sort of underplays it a bit. And so I like to push back. I would love to hear more albums by The Glove. And maybe they could call subsequent albums, or could have called subsequent albums, titled them after different strains of LSD. I think that would have been a hell of a lot of fun, but maybe it was just that interim excursion into psychedelia. Now, I'm going off on a Cure Banshees hunt, and here's where you can come in. In the comments, please give me your suggestions, advice, and recommendations as to what my next Cure or Banshees album should be to have a listen to really get my toes wet, get my feet wet, and dip into that pool. Because you know these bands better than I do, and I'd really appreciate your advice. Now you know what sort of music I like and the style that I sort of like here. But anyway, it's been a real pleasure putting my hand in the glove. And remember, if music of any shape, sound, style, or substance gives you pleasure, then who am I to argue with your opinion? Hope you've had a great time watching this video, and if you have, think about hitting the like button, and of course, smashing out that subscribe button because you know you want to. Just like I'm going to go and smash this album one more time on my turntable. It's been cool. Anyway, my name's Brian, as I said, and until next time, hope you're all doing really well, and bye now.